Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Thank you so much for tuning in to our podcast, this live upgrade. And today we have a special guest. Her name is Karr. She will be talking about digital well-being as it relates to our purpose. She has done some outstanding work, and I'm really impressed with the things she has done. In the past 13 years, she taught for 13 years. She now gives students a voice by speaking full-time and working side by side with student interns and volunteer. She's the co-founder of the non-profit organization called Icanhelp. She stands for teaching students and adults on how to use digital devices for good. And the outcome has been very mind-blowing. She has received recognition from Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees and other major tech companies like Google, Twitter, and Facebook. So Karr is here with me. Can you just tell them hi?
Hi, everybody. So excited to be here. Thank you so much, Fulfillment, for having me.
All right, thank you so much. So we're going to go straight into the topic, digital well-being as it relates to our purpose. I know we are all humans. We have a purpose. That's what drives us. That's what pushes us towards our destiny. That's what gets us up in the morning to chase our goals and to chase our dream. But digital devices are things we can't do without. And over time, I've seen how digital devices have become hindrances and roadblocks and have limited so many people from living the life they're supposed to live. So Karr, I want you to give us a brief information about digital for good, because that's what I know you stand for, and what you're trying to pass to people, like teach people about. So just tell us a little bit about digital for good, how it impacts our life in general.
Yeah, my background is in education, and so I taught for 13 years, and so students kept coming to me with like fake pages and hate pages, and just really people just being really passive aggressive, excluding them on things, sending really mean messages, people asking for nudes, people sending them nudes, not knowing what to do in those awkward situations, and they weren't sure what to do. So it was me having to pause and teach them how to use digital for good, right? And kind of go from there, because there is so much more hate. There's so many people who can create content now, and it's like, what kind of content do we want to create? What kind of content do we want to consume? And that's why it's mental health has impacted us tremendously because of our use online. So it's just teaching people how to use it for good and for the right reasons is kind of our mission from our nonprofit.
Okay, so can you highlight some of the things, some of the good things we can use digital for, so people can really understand how they can use their digital devices for good reasons?
Yeah, we actually have an event every year called Digital for Good, where we get to recognize students. And these students we've got to recognize one group last year. They're called Teenage Therapy. They actually have a podcast. They started when they were sophomores in high school, and they now just graduated. They're actually the top trending podcast. They got highlighted by Today Show and Good Morning America and New York Times. And so they're the top trending podcast. They actually got to interview Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And it's literally 5 students just talking about what it's like being a teenager. So it's just really cool on how they're getting to use it for good. There's another student who created an app called the Disability app. And it's where anybody who has a disability, they can go to his app and find out, does this hotel or restaurant have the needs that I need for my wheelchair for accessibility reasons? And he started creating that when he was 12 years old, and he's now 16. And we get to team him up with big tech companies to help him make it a better app. So these are I'm getting inspired by 12-year-olds who are doing really cool things to make digital even cooler.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I'm really impressed by how much how much work you've put into to see how people can make meaningful things like applications and podcasts that are really impacting life with using their digital devices for good. So, but I want to ask you, what are the challenges when it comes to using our digital devices for good? Because we know distractions are really difficult to handle, especially when we have all these emails, notification, and social media stuff coming in. How can we really handle our distraction to see how we can manage our devices and use them for good?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big thing is you want to be able to control your device instead of your device controlling you. And it is setting up boundaries, right? So that you have good digital wellness and you're practicing that on a daily basis. So I think that everything, it's, try not to check your phone the first thing when you wake up. Like, I actually go work out for an hour, and then when I come back, that's when I check my phone. So like, you set up your screen time, like what time should you not look at it until a certain time, right? And what time should it go to bed? How much time do you want to spend on TikTok so you don't get stuck in that rabbit hole? There's so many different things that you can do to kind of help with that balance. We have a contest all the time with students. Hey, who's got the most screen time? Who's got the least? And it's not to shame anybody who's got the most or the least. It's just more like, what are you doing that you're getting it down? And what are you doing to like have it so high so you can kind of figure out what you need to kind of work on to make it better? And then it's just simple tasks that I try to practice. I actually don't have my notifications on. I only check my email on certain times of the day. So there's certain things that you can do, whatever works for you. Some things work for you and sometimes they don't work for you, which that's fine. So find what does work for you to help with that digital wellness piece.
Wow. Okay, that's really interesting. Years back, I was reading a book by Jim Quick. I don't know if you know him. He's the popular author of the book Limitless. And he was talking about something of digital deluge and digital dementia, um, information overload, like how these things really impact our life. Now, if we really want to impact people's life and want to live on purpose, and our devices begins to control us, there are some side effects that we will have to handle, or some consequences that we'll have to handle over time. So I don't know if you can just talk a little bit on digital deluge or digital dementia, or how information overload by excessive use of social media can slow us down in reaching our goals or the things we really desire to reach.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a thing because I think we're constantly comparing ourselves to others, and it's so hard to compare your chapter, like even one, right? When you're starting something brand new. Like, this was my first time ever doing this app that you're on, right? I've never used it before. And you can get frustrated, or you can just be like, hey, this is my first time using it. And then someone who's an expert like you're walking me through it, right? How to get on it. So I can compare myself to others, and that's what slows us down. And you get frustrated and you get annoyed, or you can just be like, hey, this is my first time doing it. And you just gotta be patient. And we just kind of constantly say, I'm thriving in this, this technology world, and you got to build yourself up when you're struggling, right? And you're having that. And I think the big thing is when you are doing well, you need to make sure you help others as well to kind of help guide them on where they're at. We work side by side with students, never in front of them knowing more and never behind them knowing less. So I think that's, if we can do that with more people, on helping that, so we don't get stuck in that rut of comparing ourselves to others and thinking we're not doing enough and having that hustle culture mentality in a negative way.
Okay, that's right. Thank you for that wonderful information. Okay, let's talk about purpose. We are talking about digital well-being in relation to our purpose. So, what's your view when we talk about the issue of purpose? What do you think about purpose? Let's start from there.
Purpose, yeah, of course. Like, I think you want to know what your purpose is in life, right? I feel like you found yours of helping people find their fulfillment, right, and figure out what fulfills them and makes them happy. So I think that's what purpose is, right? Is like, what does make you happy. And it's a proven fact that every human needs someone that they're checking in on, so they have purpose, right? You need to be checking in on somebody to make sure that they're okay. And then everybody needs to have someone who's checking in on them to make sure that they're okay. So that's a proven fact. We found that out during, COVID, that people were, not doing well mentally because they didn't have that purpose. They didn't have someone they were checking in on, or someone wasn't checking in on them. So it is, asking yourself what does make you happy, what makes you thrive on that. And it is kind of make sure you're giving back. And that kind of is how you can fulfill yourself.
That's wonderful. Now, I see some stuff going on with some persons. When people don't have purpose, they are prone to do whatever they like because they cannot imagine the consequences afterward. So someone who have a purpose of changing life, like building an app that will help a lot of people, or starting a podcast that will pass vital information to help people improve their life, will want to be disciplined with how they use their devices. But some persons who don't have purpose will not want to do that. So they are more prone to their device controlling them. So how can we really strike a balance? How can we see how our devices relates to our purpose? How can we use our devices to improve our purpose? How can we use our devices to help us keep our attention on what matters the most, so we will be able to achieve those things we really desire?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely goes to, with the whole algorithm on everything, it's what are you following? You give it power. You're putting, when you like, when you subscribe, when you follow things, when you retweet, right? You're giving it power. You're putting my name is, Kim Karr, and I approve of this message. This is what I want to see. That's the algorithm. So you have a choice on what you want to follow and what you don't want to follow. So if it doesn't spark that joy or that happiness, then why are you following it? So it is like we challenge constantly. We're challenging students and adults to go through their following and see, is this a page you still want to follow? Does it go after what you're trying to, make happen? If it's not, then put it on mute for a while, or stop unfollowing it, right? There's certain things that will help you with that purpose based off of what you're following. And I'm trying to be more, in tune with people, and like spending quality time instead of quantity, spending it more with more people. I want to have quality time with less people so I can build those meaningful relationships. And so that's kind of my purpose right now. And I like making sure that I am following the right people that I want to kind of see. So I think that's reevaluating where you're at, and then also reevaluating what you're following on your devices. Even delete some of the apps. Like there's been some apps that I've gotten rid of because I didn't want to spend time on it. I'd rather spend some quality time on just a couple apps and focus my energy on that instead of it being multiple apps and less time.
That's right. Wow, that's really great. Okay, you're talking about what you're following, how it's impacting your life and impacting your purpose. Now we live in a world that what's trending is what almost everybody want to follow. Everybody want to follow what's trending, especially with the innovation of TikTok. So how can we streamline those things that we follow, even if they are trending, even if we are compelled by the society, by our friends, by our peers group to follow those things that are trending? Because we've seen over time some trending stuff are not really healthy for us to follow. So how can we really bring about a balance?
Yeah, I mean, realize that everyone has power as one, and then we also have power together. So if there's something that I've seen students do this before, if there's something that they don't agree with, that's how the cancel culture kind of became popular, is because if they didn't like something, they just started like saying, hey, let's not follow this. And I don't really agree with the whole cancel culture. I think we need to have better communication and we need to respectfully comment more so on social media when we don't agree with somebody than just be rude and, cancel them completely. I think a lot of people need to be educated on what's going on. and have that courageous conversation and help them break those echo chambers so that they can understand, what is happening or why that might be offensive or cruel to somebody online, to help them use the digital devices better and how to have those conversations instead of it being that trend that we can go against trends if it's not the right trends. And students are doing it. There was a devious lick challenge that was happening on TikTok, and students started, going against it, and schools started going against it, and they started changing the challenge to make it a more positive challenge. So it's putting things in perspective of how many people are actually doing it. Usually people who are negative are louder, and there's way more people who want to be positive. And so I think if you can redirect their focus onto something better, that is a powerful thing. So we're powerful together. We can make cool things happen together.
Yeah, that's right. And that's really interesting. So you've really said a lot. You've really talked about a lot, especially on the issue of following what will really make your life better. So I want to know, do you have any recommendation for people who are trying to find a purpose, what step they should take, people who are really trying to cut down their screen time, what steps they should take, people who really want to build something with their devices or do something with their devices that can impact the world, what steps they should take so it will be easy for them to practicalize everything we've said so far?
Yeah, I think that when it comes to it, every phone now has the thing where you can look at your screen time and you can see where you're spending your time. So I try to look at that, at least every other week, and I try to see where did I spend my time this week. Right now, I know I'm playing this card game a lot. It's kind of my downtime. But then what I'll do is I'll go and delete that app after a while, because then I want to change my focus to something else, right? So I think it's reflection. I kind of look back and reflect. Same thing. I always go in and see where I'm spending my time on social media and who I'm spending that time with. And I try to make goals for myself of hey, what's my purpose of coming on to this app right now? Is it to, go and engage with people? That's what they're supposed to be for, is to try to engage and to have that instead of just scrolling through and looking at people's life, right? Because then you can kind of get into that bad habit of comparing yourself to others. So that's realizing when I go into an app, I am very mindful of why I'm doing it and what my purpose is. So I think that's a big step on that end. You asking yourself, what does make me happy? Go and volunteer. I think you can find a lot of purpose when you go and volunteer, because then you can find what your skills are. I didn't realize what my skills were until I started being a part of groups and helping people, hearing what people's needs were, and then I was able to kind of help guide them. And that's when I found my skills, and that's when I found some purpose that I'm good at.
Okay. One important question I want to ask: what role can parents play in ensuring that their children spend quality time with their devices, doing things that are really, really important, rather than just whiling away time and getting sucked into those things that will not really help build them? So what advice will you give to guardians and parents?
Yeah, I think it's the screen time is definitely a huge one, that way you can set it up, and it's easy for them to kind of swipe it off, but that's why you want to kind of have a competition, and you don't want them it's not where they get in trouble. I never talk to students it's an interrogation process. It's more matter of fact, hey, explain it to me and be curious. And then, why is it so high this week? Why is it so low? If it is really high or really low, usually there's some mental health issues that they're using it because they are either really sad or depressed or have some anxiety. But that's kind of people's go-to now, is they use their devices to help them cope with certain things. I think scrolling through TikTok is a massive coping mechanism for some people. That's their escape that they use now. So it's trying to be open about that. And then how can we do something different than just scroll on TikTok? Can you go out for a walk? Can you go organize or bake, or there's other ways that you can cope with mental health issues, so that they kind of know that they can do that instead of constantly using their device, because it's just like going to a buffet and eating a ton of food. You can get sick by eating too much food. You can get sick by consuming too much social media and using your app and all those kind of things. So it is really making sure we consume the right amount and the right amount of content to help us with our mental health issues.
Right. That's actually right. You said something that struck me, something that really stood out, was that people we tend to use social media apps to as coping mechanism for the depression. But right, we see when people continually do this, they get addicted to those kind of stuff. You see, even if they are not depressed, even if there's nothing going on with them, they just feel this urge to always log into their phone. So how can someone who has walked down that road of being addicted to social media, how can that person reduce or deal with the urge, deal with solving those particular issues or problem that caused the addiction? How can you handle fighting your urges to go on social media for hours or being in YouTube for hours?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first step of any addiction, right, is admitting it. So you first have to admit that you're addicted. And that's always the hardest first step. And then it's then wanting to do something about it. A lot of people know they're addicted, but then they don't want to do anything about it. So you have to want to do something about it. And then when you do, these are all student answers of what they're doing, and they're the ones teaching me. I've had students show me they're like on their phone, they don't have their social media on their the front screen because it's so easy access. They put it in one of their, like, they hide it in a folder, or they hide it to one of their, you have to slide over quite a few tabs to get to it. Some students actually log out of their social media and they have to log in. So it makes it harder to have to do it. I've had some people tell me that they actually don't have it on their device. They have it only on their like laptops or their iPads. So you have to, again, it's not easy access to them. They only check it at a certain time of the day. Like they're only allowed to look at it at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Right. So there's certain things that people do to set themselves up for success for that, because it can be so addicting. And again, you can consume too much. And that's when social media, mental health has increased because there's a massive connection with social media. Anxiety and depression have increased 37% since smartphones came out. So it is reflecting back. Suicide has also increased. It's in the US, it's the number 2 cause of death for 10 to 24-year-olds. And there is a lot of connection to social media because of that, right? So we need it. We think these stats are messed up. We need to do something about them now, not in the future. We need to do about it now, and that is working on our addiction to our devices.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that information. Right, but I'll also love you to talk about those who go into extreme addiction. Now, people can be addicted to social media, that can still be easily managed, but have other persons who are early addicted to pornography and all sorts of illicit content online. So what advice will you give to those kind of persons, and how can they help themselves so they don't really have those things impacting their mind or their mental health?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you got to set up, all these devices now have it where they have different tools, right? So like, for example, on Instagram, you can set it up where you don't have to see how many likes you have or how many likes other people have, but you have to change that, right? Again, going back to the screen time, you can set up screen time on your phone. You can set up, sleeper, what time you should be having your phones go to sleep so that you get your right amount of sleep, right? There's so many different things you can do. It does take work to be well. That is that's our mental health curriculum. It's called Work to Be Well. You have to put the work in to be well. You can't, being mentally healthy doesn't just come easy to people. You have to actually put the work in to be able to do it. So there is a lot of things you can make happen, everything from screen time, like I said, to even getting off of either, like I said, I get off of certain games for a certain time, or I get off of social media certain times. But it's actually doing the work and actually doing it yourself is the biggest piece to be able to work on.
Right. Thank you so much. Okay, before we go, This audio, this podcast, a lot of people from Nigeria, because that's where I'm speaking from right now. A lot of people from Nigeria is going to be listening to this podcast. So I just want to give them a general advice concerning digital well-being that will really help them, something that they can stick with, that will really impact their lives.
Yeah, so one of our Work to Be Well curriculum, it's free on our, if you go to our website too, it's icanhelp.net. We have mental health curriculum that you can actually use. It's easy for you to go to. One is our self-care unit. We have anxiety and depression, stress, all that kind of stuff. So we make an emotional first aid kit. And so I think if you are ever feeling stressed, having anxiety, feeling lonely or depressed, right? All those things, you can go to your emotional first aid kit. And in that, it's music. Make a playlist, right? Make that music playlist that makes you happy. People think that if you're sad, you're supposed to listen to sad music, and that helps. It can help for a short amount of time, but to be able to get you out of it, you have to start listening to music that's going to actually get you out of that sadness. So create a playlist that can kind of instantly get you out of it, right? Make that fun song. What's your favorite? Like, what's a fun song that you like to go to? That'll change your mood?
Well, I think I love maybe kind of fast beat music, salsa, or any of those music that that really speaks to me, that will make me dance. So I think those kind of music will really help.
Yeah. So, and right there, just make that playlist, and I make them, and then I actually share them with friends. It's fun. And then the next thing, your emotional first aid kit is even sites. Like, so what's your screensaver right now? Because a simple look at your screensaver will change it. So what's your screensaver?
Okay, yeah, I love space. So my screensaver is it's a planet floating in space. So that's my screensaver.
Cool. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, and so some people have like their family, or they have a pet, or like you have it. They have some kind of landscape, like a beach or something, right? So just a simple picture, or so create folders in your photos of pictures that make you happy that you can go to. And even like drive to that place, like, I don't know, a soccer field always makes me happy. So even driving to a soccer field when I'm feeling kind of a certain way, I like to do that because it just kind of calms me down. The next thing in emotional first aid kit is actually smells. What are the smells that spark joy, and what are the smells that relax you? What are your favorite smells?
Oh, well, smells of flowers, like when you go to the field, when you just get those scents, is really, really really just sets your mood up.
Yeah. And again, it's like carry those smells with you. That's why essential oils have become big. A lot of performers now put lavender or mint on their hands and on their neck and on their feet before they go perform, because it just calms them down. It's medically proven. So it's just carrying those smells with you. The other one is touch. That's in your emotional first aid kit. And that's everything from like, right now I'm wearing a really soft t-shirt because it feels good. I have a certain necklace I wear. I have a pet, right? I have a cat that it's just like the simple touch of it calms you. Is there anything that you have that, like, I don't know, blanket, any of that kind of stuff? Is there anything that you have?
Yeah, I have this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then the other one is humans, right? Who are the humans that you go to when you are feeling this way, that you can go vent to or go talk to? Everyone needs to have someone that they can go to for that piece. And then the last one in your emotional first aid kit is taking action. So when you are stressed, when you are feeling depressed, validate them and then go take action. So do you go work out? Do you go clean or organize or bake or cook? What is it that you do when you're having those emotions? Is there anything, what's your go-to?
Well, I love to exercise just to build the heat in my body. I love that a lot. Whenever I do that and take a cold shower, everything just looks fine.
Perfect. Yeah. See, right there. So we just built our emotional first aid kit. So I think those are my biggest takeaways. You guys can check us out at icanhelp.net, and then our social medias is Icanhelp Official. And we constantly are giving more tips on how you can control your life before your device controls you. So yeah, that's what we do. Love it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. You've been really, really helpful. You've been really, really inspiring, and I'm grateful for having you on this show. Thank you so, so much.
Awesome. Great. Thank you guys, everybody. Have a great day.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week again for a fresh round.